So I finally got around to playing Katana Zero and it was weird. Yeah, this one honestly wasn't on my radar at all, but this person said I should play it, so I did. Safe to say I went into this one totally blind, but did feel immediately reassured when I saw it was published by Devolver Digital. Devolver. They just put out good games. The Talos Principle, Inscription, Enter the Gungeon, Cult of the Lamb, and of course their first true breakout hit, Hotline Miami. Katana Zero is clearly inspired by that legendary title, bringing a vaporwave-drenched aesthetic, frenetic, high-paced action, and an instant kill mechanic. And while it is a good game, it also didn't blow my socks off, and I don't like wearing socks. I like it when they're involuntarily removed from my feet due to sheer surprise, but sadly, they were pretty firmly on there for most of my playtime. If you're new to the channel, well, it's great to have you on board. Please consider liking and subscribing if you do want to see more content like this. If you don't, well, it's a free country, do what you like. But right now, it's time to find out. How does it play today? Before you attack any enemies in the game, your ears are the ones that are going to be assaulted by Katana Zero's thumping soundtrack, and I mean that in the best way possible. Before each level, your character will load up one of their favourite tunes on a tape before proceeding to eviscerate the population of a small town because, well, priorities, obviously. Each track brings throbbing techno and dance music that gets your blood pumping like a cup of coffee after a fresh transfusion, which is apt because there will be plenty of blood pumping action to match. Quite literally. It stays away from a more bit-tuned score despite the pixel art aesthetic, but the rest of the sound design reflects that retro feel with polyphonic screams and intentionally dated effects which set the nostalgia center of my brain alight. Yay! I like feeling like a kid again, when I still had hopes and dreams and dignity. Alongside your trusty cassette player, you also have an impressive arsenal to purge your foes with. You can slow down time, deflect bullets back at enemies, and throw items, all of which feel really satisfying. Linking these together in a seamless chain is very rewarding, make no mistake, but it did take some time before I was pulling this off with the kind of effortless twitch reactions the game is aiming for. You really have to use everything at your disposal. In this way, it forces its mechanics upon you, like a drunk girl at the bar, which I always like when a game does that, when a game does that. Make me need to use the things you've put in your game. Don't just have them sitting there looking pretty, otherwise I will just take the path of least resistance and just use Paul Phoenix's Burning Fist to beat everyone at Tekken 3. I did that. When you go from dodging through an attack to slicing some dude, then freezing time to deflect a bullet before flinging a knife into another enemy's skull all in about 5 seconds, yeah, it's fucking sick. And in those moments, I want to play this game forever. Each level, you're tasked with clearing rooms full of enemies, a single hit rewinding your progress to the start of that area. Most of the time, games don't even bother to explain half of the totally ridiculous and reality-breaking shit we see while playing. Like when a character randomly takes a break from speaking in Old English to tell you that if you press triangle, you can save the game. But Katana Zero actually has a clever in-game reason behind its death mechanic that even ties into its story. You're addicted to a drug called Chronos, which grants you the ability to see into the future and thus pre-plan your run. So when you die, you're not really dying, but seeing what the outcome of that particular strategy would be, using that knowledge to adapt your approach when you start over. A clever and fun idea both mechanically and conceptually. Level design is locked down, each room is its own living, breathing puzzle with an optimal way for enemies to be cleared, and unlocking that ideal pathway is at its core. It's built around trial and error, and there is something rewarding about working your way through areas in this methodical way of figuring out the next step to take, which on an individual level can sometimes feel clunky and stilted, but once you string it together together in a clear, successful run, the game really hits its stride. If you're one of those weirdos who actually gets off on speedrunning, Katana Zero is your very own wet dream. It's been made for people just like you sick freak. While most levels feel like they have these sharp solutions that require scalpel-like precision to navigate, others feel like they can be cheesed by aggroing a busload of dudes through the same choke point. 100 soldiers versus one small door. Who will win? The door. Every time. In other instances, you can just mash the attack button with the speed of a senior citizen on a slot machine to hack and slash wildly through as many enemies as possible. Look, I don't want to make assumptions about your gaming abilities, but you're probably going to die a lot. I, for one, like dying. Feels cathartic, and at least when you restart, it takes less than a second, which is essential for this to work. It's hard as nails, super challenging, but not always in that good-natured, you cheeky bastard kind of camaraderie, like copping a roasting from a friend who's close enough to rib you in that way without it being weird. Sometimes it's more like having the playground bully pin you to the ground while he farts in your face. It felt a little cheap and frustrating in a way that's specifically unlike games of this ilk. Maybe it's just a skill issue on my part. No, it's the game that's wrong. Katana Zero just lacked a little of the consistency I like from games like this, and the pacing is frankly all over the place. It really needs someone to come in with their own comically oversized katana to slice away at some of the fat here, homing in on just a few core mechanical features. The end of the game, for example, sees you funneled down a series of simple and uninterrupted levels with aggressive difficulty and playstyles that leave no margin for error, really testing your ability to sniff out the select path forward. And these are kind of the best part of the game and what it should have been, a never-ending gauntlet of gut-bustingly hard rooms with enemies swarming across the screen like heavily armed roaches, and nothing but the most accurate trigger finger allowing you to progress. Why didn't you just do that, guys? You could have just done that for like the whole game. Instead, something else kept raising its annoying little head like a particularly persistent and attention-starved whack-a-mole. The story. Yeah, normally I like story. Normally I wish developers would put more effort into making a good story as well as a good game. I never thought I'd wish a game would just not have a story at all. But here we are. You play as the Dragon with a capital D, an elusive assassin for hire, clearly tortured by strange dreams and a mysterious injury sustained in a war of questionable intent. I was surprised just how much story this game had, and how often it would take a detour from the gameplay for you to experience it. The action will come skidding to a halt as you play out flashbacks that see you partaking in interactive sessions with your therapist.
Thirsting for a way to name the unnameable, to express the inexpressible.
Tell me more.
The side-scrolling platformer isn't exactly known for its narrative prowess. I mean, apart from Super Mario Bros. 2, that shit is pure cinema, so it was impressive to see the game put a fair bit of effort into setting the scene like this, but I'm not sure we really needed it. I actually kind of would have preferred something a bit more superficial here that only existed as a vehicle to deliver the gameplay in a stylistic way. That's all these kinds of games really need, in my opinion. It was kind of like finding marshmallows in my Cocoa Pops. I mean, I love marshmallows, but I'm not American, so I don't want them in my fucking cereal. And here, I don't think I want highbrow storytelling in my hack and slash game. I mean, there's dialogue choices, which was unexpected, but does have an interesting spin, allowing you to interrupt characters with aggressive responses that can lead to negative and hilarious outcomes, hinting at a layer of player choice and consequence even. By the end, I just wasn't sure what kind of game Katana Zero really wanted to be. The story is compelling, its ideas are bold, ambitious and high concept, mind-bending, time-warping, it messes with conscious continuity and one's own mind being weaponized as the ultimate torture device. But it's also very cryptic and secretive, reluctantly revealing tiny nuggets of information in a piecemeal fashion. Characters are barely introduced, plot threads remain unresolved, and motivations aren't fully realised. Throw in a light sprinkle of time travel and you've got something thoroughly confusing, but not in a good way. It's often hard to follow the many different strands flung out like bits of red string on a whiteboard, which are missing the Polaroid in the middle, circled in red marker, that they all lead back to. It doesn't feel like it has complete confidence in the story it wants to tell, meshing all sorts of competing ideas with the generic foundation of a super soldier abused by government bodies. You've seen this movie before and done better. It's a game that seems intent on you not getting it as a way of obscuring how little there is to get. Sometimes style over substance is a good thing, as it is here. There's a lot of cool, old school tech, CRT TVs, VHSs, paper dossiers, yet still set against this dystopic, futuristic backdrop, and I'm a sucker for that vibe. Vintage 80s mixed with a cyberpunk bent, yes please. The art style is fantastic. It's packed with detail and atmosphere, with effective lighting and slick animations that pulse with the beat of the soundtrack, making it feel like an organic creature with a mind of its own. Every time I think pixel art can't look any better, a game like Katana Zero comes along and says, "Hey, listen here buddy, you got no fucking idea," and kicks me in my dumb face. I love all the little attention to detail, the way streams of blood explode violently on the walls like a Jackson Pollock painting. It's ultra-violence at its most fun and expressive. Katana Zero is a strange game that isn't content with simply following the hack and slash playbook. It wants to be its own thing, but sometimes individuality comes at a cost, which is why I always say conformity is king. That cost is an experience that is hard to define, but also difficult to follow as a player. It has an interesting core mechanic, solid combat that prevents diverse options, and an art style that will take you to a very happy place. But its difficulty is slightly unbalanced, floaty and imprecise controls take some shine off, and the overall experience is too frequently impeded by the speed bumps of the story, which is not as deep as it thinks it is. Still, it's a short game that has a ton of replayability, and I'm honestly pretty keen to go around again, continuing to hone my skills and see just how perfect some of these runs can be once the mechanics become muscle memory, because when it does, playing feels like poetry in motion. Really, really bloody poetry. Like if Kill Bill was a haiku. If it's on your backlog, give it a go. It wasn't totally my jam, but I know a lot of other people love this game, and at its core is a gooey, gory center that's hard not to like. If you've made it this far, thank you for joining me on this weird and wonderful ride. I hope you've enjoyed all its peaks and valleys, and if you have, then maybe like the video and think of subscribing if you'd like to see more of this and you enjoy the sound of my voice as much as I do. Otherwise, thanks for watching and be patient.